in a in a very remote area of North New England, or was it British Columbia?
Someplace in the mountains.
It was
very far. They like hiking, the couple.
And the town only had a grocery store. That's how remote in the woods was. The entire town only had
a gas station, you know, the little service store.
And the whole family that he had on both sides were congregating in this remote area because apparently his son loved nature and being back in nature and in the naturalness of the remote parts of nature in the woods. So he wanted to get married there. So anyway, Vijay, and I've sat with Vijay on the veranda. I mean, Vijay has always been on the veranda as long as I can remember, and way before I ever got an opportunity to sit there. But the fact of the matter is, he went into the grocery store and looked around, and after filling the tank with gas for his car and to carry on to the wedding site, and there was like nothing. There was cookies and drinks and crackers, you know, the usual things you see in a gasoline grocery store. But this was a very old one. It was remote in the woods. And he went and got something to drink, you know, like a little water or juice or something like that. And, you know, and then he went to pay for it. And he looks on the counter and there's a box of Sai Baba's incense with Swami's hands like this in, you know, double hastya, or however you pronounce that word, blessing prose, double. And he just looks down at the box and he looks at the grocery store clerk and says, "Gee, where did this come from?" He says, "I don't know, it's just here. If you want it, you can buy it." In the remotest possible place in the United States, I mean, one of them anyway, there's Swami blessing him and his family on the occasion of his son's wedding. And it was just blew him away. And that was just one of 3 things that he shared. So Swami's with us, whether we are aware of it or not, all the time, in us all the time, with us all the time, around us all the time. He also shared this very pertinent thing that I would like to share with all of you. And that is, he said, the best way to find God in yourself and to be fully liberated by God's grace, by Swami's grace, is to serve the poor and needy. And he shared that whenever he said that in his talk, if he was in a public place, the flowers around Swami's picture would move. And on several occasions, a large part of that garland would just drop onto the floor. And he did it in London, he did it out in California, he did it on the East Coast, and all 3 occasions the same thing happened. But we don't need Swami's affirmation of that reality, because we are sharing that reality from Vijay's reality of experience. And this is truth. The best way to God is to serve the poor and the needy, those who are in need, distressed. And why? If you think about it, it's simply because what does God do when God comes to earth in human form? He serves the poor and the needy and his devotees. And mostly the poor and the needy, because we are the poor and the needy as devotees as well. So just think about that as we talk about what we're talking about tonight, and try to understand what that really means in terms of your own personal life and your own personal experience and your own personal sadhana, and where you are now and where you want to be in the very near future. So Roseanne has some things that she'd like to share. We'd like to talk about concentration tonight, how to improve concentration, because a lot of people are having a problem with that. And their attitude about concentration and our attitude about concentration is really important. I like to see people's faces. So if you're blanked out and black, I like to talk to people. And by the expressions on your faces when I'm talking, I can tell whether we're doing something pertinent or not.
Thank you.
And appreciate it. So those who are courageous enough to let us see who you are.
It's okay. Thank you. I'm reading from Jnana Vahini. It's Sai Baba's book about meditation. It's a very old book. So we usually, when we talk about concentration, when we were there in 89, he gave a really wonderful talk where he talked about dharanas, and how Raman Maharshi and Aurobindo, I think was the other saint, would stare at a star or pick a point, and he taught everyone, and it's in the Sadhi Sai Speaks from 89. You could read it about concentration exercises. So we all, Al and I always talk about that because it's real important. And I think at the beginning of when we first, started this group of meditating, we talked about that. So now I'm going to talk about what Swami said in his book about concentration, because basically what Swami says is concentration, then contemplation, then meditation. So the basis of meditation, we can't meditate unless we can concentrate. And so we have to go through the steps and practice that in any way that we can. So this is what Swami says about it. He says, first of all, he says, everyone has the right to achieve this high degree of success. Knowing this, meditate and advance. Realize the Atma. So he says in the beginning, even before anything else, he says you have the right to be able to meditate. And so he says we all have this ability to realize the Atma. And he's very insistent that a very, very important part of realizing the Atma within us is to meditate. So Swami says, every minute from inside and outside, promptings and temptations arise and accumulate in people. We cannot attend to all at the same time. So we fix our attention on the most important thing amongst them only. So this is our day. We have a million things that we have to do, of which we can only do a few of them. And we sit to meditate and they start popping into our mind. So what do? Swami says, even in life, how even if we weren't meditating, at some point we would have to decide, what am I really going to do today? And so the people that get stuff done are able to answer that question. They concentrate on what's the most important thing to get done that day. So he says always that in real life, in our regular everyday life, that kind of concentration is important. It's how we can cross the street, how we can do pretty much anything, is we have to be able to concentrate. So the more able we are to concentrate in life, the more able we are to concentrate in meditation. So Swami said, we fix our attention on the most important thing among them. So when we sit down to meditate, the most important thing is to think about God. So then we let go of the other things that we have to do, because right in that moment we're meditating. Want to say anything? Nope. Okay. So let's see. This is called concentration. And probably am pronouncing it wrong. He says this is called Avadhana. Avadhana. Concentration is needed to grasp any subject well. Purposely directing attention on a subject and fixing it there is ekagrata, or one-pointedness. So as we're sitting and meditating, we get better and better at having one-pointedness. Sometimes it's very hard. Sometimes there's like a huge press of things in our lives that are very hard to get out of our minds when we're meditating. And we can't beat ourselves up. We can't do anything but just constantly, gently bring ourselves back to the meditation. But it is the process of meditation is dealing with that. It's not anything else, you know, at the level of how we start. And the people that, you know, have done it for a long time and many lifetimes, they can go and sit down and it's easier. But even for those people, there's always something in life, because God will give you some ups and downs and make it hard to concentrate. So then we slowly learn to put our attention on God more and more and more so that we can meditate. Okay.
So basically, the mind is like the wind. That's what Arjuna complained to Krishna when Krishna said, you know, transcend the mind, go beyond the mind. You're not the mind. Find the self within you, the Atma within you, that you are one with me. And Krishna said, and Arjuna said, complained. He said, the mind's like the wind. How am I ever supposed to control that? You can't control the wind. You can't control the mind if you try to control the thoughts of the mind. It's not possible. So we use a more subtle thought, a mantra, Swami's name, Swami's form, any form or name of God, incarnate or form that's not incarnate, or the formless if you can. But the formless is very hard to concentrate on, if not impossible. So the mind cannot be tamed by forcing the mind to think only one thing. So we use a more subtle thought to attract the mind, much like a child who is misbehaving, but we want them to cooperate, and we know they can cooperate, and we're taking them to, in the car. We say, well, go for ice cream, and they behave. So the mantra is like ice cream to the mind. It likes that better because it's a more subtle vibration, a more peaceful vibration. But the nature of the mind is to think about all other thoughts and things and to protect us. So it's going to think about everything in our life and all the ways that we can possibly protect ourselves. And it's also the thinking, thoughts, and having feelings in meditation is the product of the release of stresses or karmas that are being dissolved. So it's going to go all over the place. Now, how do we actually calm the mind down? Love all, serve the needy, serve the poor, do selfless service. Even if it's just prayer, even if you can't get out there in the community, pray. Concentrate on helping others. That will purify the mind and allow the God within you to come forth in meditation. That's why Swami says to everybody, just go out and serve. Don't meditate much. Because most people can't. Most people can't do concentration for more than a few minutes without having to get up and go do something. And, they can't tame their mind like the wind. So most people, most devotees, they're urged to serve because Swami's grace will be there for them. And that's their path. That's the fastest path. But Swami also said, ultimately, everybody has to meditate. Ultimately, if you read Dhyana of the Heating, Swami says, ultimately, the way to find me is within yourself, and ask the question, who am I really? So even we could see Swami's form, we could see Swami's name. We're invoking grace. We're asking Swami to save us. But according to what Swami has himself said, if you love me and if you serve me in all beings, I will liberate you.
And the part of the service is that we have to put our own needs second to the other person. We have to give up our time, some money, some energy, and that gives us like the ceiling on desires, because otherwise we would be out doing something, having fun, spending our money, and eating too much or whatever. And so the service of other people, it's like a constant sacrifice of our ego to make someone else who's only, an illusion of someone else. Everyone is one. So we're constantly in the act of service, giving up our own ideas, our own time, our own self, giving up the ego and becoming bigger, expanding. So Swami says one-pointedness will increase power and skill. It cannot be won without conquering the worldly cravings that distract the mind. This one-pointedness, this conquest of the mind, is acquired by the exercise of jhana. So it's a pretty long process. I've been meditating a long time, and sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's hard. And it's just constantly working with the mind. Remember from other times that we discussed, there's the mind, which is like the lower mind. And then there's the buddhi, which is the higher mind. And that's the ability to witness what's happening in the lower mind, in the desires and in the fears. All those things are the lower mind. And then the higher mind, buddhi, is the witness that can say, as a conscience, that's wrong, don't do that, or do this, and control, that self-control starts.
We call that the observing consciousness, the observer. That's the higher mind, that's the buddhi, the part that can observe our thoughts and feelings as they pass by, that can observe the state of our body, the mind in its lower self, but also there is the witness of the witness. There's the observer of the observing buddhi. That is consciousness itself. So you can watch yourself watching yourself. And that's consciousness that does that. So one thing about all this is that you might say, oh, this is so difficult. Well, you know what? Ramana Maharshi did it in 45 minutes.
When he was 16.
When he was, 16. And there are people who have done it in 3 years. And some of them are devotees of Swami. So there are people out there that are free. But they won't tell you that. So don't get discouraged. Just keep chipping away and try to let go of the attachments to the experiences you have, the body you have, the mind, the thoughts, the feelings. Let go of those attachments. Because do you know who you were attached to last life and what you did? And next life, do you think you'll remember anything about this life? All that follows us from life to life is the fundamental vasanas, the fundamental seed desires and attachments. And we have the opportunity right now, right here, to let that go. And what is that? The attachment to sensual pleasure, the attachment to money, the attachment to name, the attachment to fame, the attachment to power, the attachment to I want, I need, I have to have, all that stuff. That you are God. Each one of you are God in a Halloween costume. Look at your body. Just like Halloween, God in disguise. Every single one of us is God in disguise in reality. It's the truth. And in the silence that you experience in meditation, when you go into that silence, there's a shimmering sense of peace, you could say, a shimmering sense of I am. And behind that I am, the source of the I am is your God self. Each one of us is the absolute incarnate. Swami has said that. Now we need to work on finding it. So never give up on the mind. In the first 4 years of meditating, I was meditating 6 hours a day. In the fourth year, 6 hours a day in Switzerland, 3 hours and 3 hours with Mahesh Yogi.
It was not a very good technique.
Right. But the fact is, I was sitting there doing a mantra that was God's name. Not a good technique. He didn't teach us concentration. But I got nowhere. 1 year, no experiences, nothing. The only thing I learned was the discipline of sitting 6 hours a day. That's all I learned. When I got to Swami, he was really happy that I even tried. And then things started percolating by Swami's grace. And a little before that, because I was with Hilda Charlton. And so the fact of the matter is, don't give up. Never, ever give up. If you sit long enough with your mantras, with your name and form, you will find the absolute within you. You will.
And just to go back a little bit, I can tell you I'm not liberated, but just even with meditating I've been meditating since I was 19 and now I'm 67. Somewhere in there, it changed. Something changed in the way that I approach the world. And even you don't have to be liberated to have like a really wonderful grace to just sort of look at things in a detached way. It happens by itself. And Swami says in the Dhyana Vihini a lot, he says, like, don't try to make yourself nothing too quickly, because you'll just be really, miserable. And so you have to be yourself.
Especially if you're a family man or
right.
family woman. You need to raise your family. You need to have. Swami said to me, I'll tell you the truth, when we were getting married, because I was kind of a yogi for 15 years, and I was really shocked that I now am getting married, even though I wanted to get married. And he said to me, sexuality is the glue that keeps marriage together. Swami said that. He said, one mind, one soul, one heart, one body. And he smiled. He was like quite comical about it.
That's really great.
And so, love what you do, where you are, fully and completely, and enjoy it. But then sooner or later, these sensual things get satisfied, and then you have to move on. You can't get stuck in a rut.
Swami's very, very specific about, from living a good life is the ingredients to liberation, is to constantly be working at this and never giving up. And it happens on its own. We put the work in and God transforms us. And that transformation, you just have faith that it really does happen. I'll just read one more thing. He says, besides, every thought, every word, every deed has to proceed from the full consciousness of knowledge. Direct your intelligence not to wander about, but to dwell constantly in the inner world. Into the inner realm, the sadhaka can enter through the gate of self-examination. That gate accords welcome for every sadhaka endowed with humility and devotion to the highest and holiest status possible in life. So if we have humility and devotion to God, that's all we need. We just live our life in that way, in service, and sacrifice those few minutes in the morning and in the evening, hopefully, whenever you can, to meditate on God. And that's all that we need to do.
And Swami says you don't have to do it for hours. 30 minutes is enough, once or twice a day. Twice, he said, is better than once, if you can find the time. And if you sit more than 25 minutes, the mind automatically shuts off. If you sit with a mantra more than 25 minutes, the process of the mind can't go, interfering with concentration for more than about 23 minutes, actually. So that's the value of sitting 30 minutes. Now, I like to sit for an hour, but that's me. I mean, I used to meditate 6-8 hours a day. So, I'm used to it, but that doesn't mean everybody. And if you serve God, then you can actually just enjoy serving God and everyone, and that can become your meditation. And then you sit for 20, 30 minutes, and you'll find that you sink into a beautiful state of peace and love.
I used to meditate 2 hours a day, and I always meditated. I never missed a day of meditation until when I was 40, I had children. And I had to totally revamp everything because you can't sit around meditating for hours with little kids. And so it was very helpful that Dr. Hislop was talking about, where he got to a point where he didn't have to sit and meditate, because he could meditate sort of just through his day. And I had to really learn how to do that, not perfectly, but, just as much as I could, because there is just no possibility of that kind of freedom that you have when you don't have little children around, that you can sit, there are little kids that get up every 2 or 3 hours, and you can't really do it. So I learned a very good lesson, and just, that all the discipline that I had exerted in the 20 years before that, I was able to put myself in a state where I could really just kind of clear my mind and be conscious. And so the more we do and the younger we start is really a fantastic thing.
So let's meditate. Okay.
There's one question, brother.
Yes.
So the greatest hurdle that some of us have for meditation, whether it's morning or night, is sleepiness and fatigue. So
Yes.
Do you have any tips to overcome that?
So there's a few things. So first of all, we have to get enough rest every night. That's at least 6 hours. And for a lot of people, it's 8. Some people, it's even 9. And everybody's body's different. But if you're not going to get sleep at night thoroughly, you're going to grab the sleep in the meditation, because meditation produces the same metabolic state as deep sleep in the body, but it's a different brainwave pattern. So it can't take the place of deep sleep because it's a different brainwave pattern, but it has the same metabolic state, and it gives the body deep rest. So once you go into a state of deep rest, if your body really does need that brainwave pattern, it's going to grab it, and there's nothing you can do about it. However, if fatigue is generally there, check whether, first of all, you're anemic, or do you need B12. Make sure your body's getting all the nutrients it can, because all vegetarians are, and I don't know if everybody's vegetarian, but vegetarians have deficits in both iron and B12. And I know this because in the first 5 years, I had that condition.
The American diet.
Right. So in the vegetarian, when I became vegetarian, but the fact is, get your body healthy enough. Now, if you did a lot of alcohol or drugs, or alcohol itself is alcohol, drugs, marijuana, all that stuff. I'm not saying that you're doing that, but if you do it, it's the antithesis of meditating. It does exactly the opposite of what meditation does. Alcohol, marijuana, a lot of prescription psychological drugs do the opposite of what meditation does. So they tear the body down instead of building it, the neurological system up. And meditation refines the neurological system until you can hold full consciousness of the oneness with the absolute, with God. That's the point. So there's another technique that's yogic, and I'll teach it to you right now. If you have the ability to do some pranayama, some people can't because their lungs hurt or they have allergies. But if you can, when you're feeling tired, you sit really straight, you grab your hands like two fists, you just put the nails of your hands into your hands, the nails of your fingers into your hands. This was taught to me by several yogis, not just one. And then you just breathe like this. Yep, 10 breaths, hold the 10th, and then blow it out the top of your head. So we breathe through our heart center, but we can also breathe through the top of our head. So you blow it out the top of your head as if and that raises the energy levels from the lower chakras to the higher chakras.
But don't overdo it, because we're not real teachers, so we should.
You can do it 3 times.
Sai Baba is your real
Don't do it
teacher.
for an hour, or I'll hear from Sai Baba himself. He will come and tell me, what kind of junk teacher are you? In a dream or something.
Just do it to wake up a little.
3 times is enough. So you do. So I still do this to this day at times if I'm tired. But one of the things that happened a lot was I was exhausted from work, and I'd sit to meditate at a Sai Baba Center meeting or something like that. Somebody would be I'd be exhausted. It was the end of the day, 8 o'clock meeting at night. And I'd sit there, and my body was so tired and my mind was so tired, my mind wouldn't even think. It couldn't think. And those were the greatest meditations. I would just sit for an hour with my eyes closed, no mind. And it was just fantastic because my mind was just too tired. So there's some value in that. But if the body physically is tired and has depreciated malnutrition from the lack of vitamins, proteins, the necessary things, then you have to build it up. You have to build up the body. So does that answer the question?
Thank you.
Yeah, you have another question, Dave?
Yeah, you just mentioned drugs, as in pharmaceutical drugs and antidepressants.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time I've ever heard that. Can you go into that? I mean,
so antidepressants, the serotonin uptake inhibitors.
Well, let me say Wellbutrin, because you know all of them.
So Wellbutrin, after 7 years, they start stripping the myelin sheath off the neurons. So they damage the myelin sheath. And you have to be careful. So who's ever on medication, if it's absolutely necessary, no getting around it. I mean, some people have psychological conditions, bipolarity, and other conditions that are genetic, and they need that to be stable emotionally. Otherwise, because of their genetics, they can't function. I'm not talking about that. But if somebody just says, I'm depressed all the time, I don't know what to do, meditate, 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 ask God to reduce the karmic load. Give it to Swami. And he will take you off the Wellbutrin. But you got to come off very, very, very slowly. It takes about a year. CBD oil, okay, occasionally.
That's okay.
CBD oil, okay, occasionally. Nothing wrong with that. It's a good pain reliever and a mind relaxer. Nothing wrong with that. But occasionally, not every day, 3 times a day, I got to take my CBD. Then you become addicted to it. It's not good.
Yeah, you got to let the body produce those. It's to help the body produce those.
It's cannabinoids. Yeah. So how do I get my cannabinoids? I run. I do exercise. I meditate a lot. How do other people get their cannabinoids going in their brains, their natural cannabinoids, which is CBD? You might have your way. But if you don't get cannabinoids, oxytocin, and endorphins that are opioid-based, that are natural parts of the brain function, you need to figure out a way to get it, because that's the feel-good parts of ourselves. And serotonin, by the way, is not produced in the brain. It's produced in the gut. So you got to think about gut health, probiotics and prebiotics. Prebiotics are just fiber. But probiotics, very important. It's gut health. So if you're taking antibiotics, it kills all the probiotics. And you got to reestablish.
Yeah. But what about this? Now you said 7 years stripping. Does that come back?
Yes, if you take omegas a lot, I'm talking about 1 gram a day, omega-3 and 9.
Isn't that fish oil?
No, it's algae oil. It comes in algae oil based.
Oh.
So that's, if you're, some people don't care about the fish oil as vegetarians. I do. So I take algae omega-3s. So there, we have to build the body up. And that's really important because, as I said, meditation is all about the refinement of the neurological system and building the neurological strength. And in fact, you can't be liberated until you can walk into hell and walk into heaven with the same equanimity and the same love. There's no liberation until that can happen.
Is there a place to find some of this information? Because it's hard to absorb and keep.
Doctor, yeah.
Some of the naturopaths know, but they have to be meditating naturopaths, and they have to be with Sai Baba or some similar.
So you don't know of any one place? No.
No, because this is stuff I've gathered for about 50
years. Write a book. I'm serious.
There is a book, Anatomy of an Epidemic by Whitaker. Read it. Anatomy of an Epidemic by Whitaker.
Okay.
That's a good book to read. It's a Harvard-based research.
Anatomy of an Epidemic. Okay.
I have about 7 books in my head, my heart to write, and I never have enough time to write it.
All right.
Something about that. Okay, let's meditate, right? Yeah. Let's do what we came to do. All right. So everybody mute and let's go. Get comfortable in a chair. Get your back comfortably straight, your head comfortably erect. Try not to move for the next 50 minutes. You have to move a little bit, actually 45 minutes. If you have to move a little, it's okay. You know, if you have to itch something, but don't keep itching like mosquitoes are landing on you every 5 minutes or something like that.
Because those are chakras opening.
Yep. You lead it? You begin.
Oh, okay. Take in a deep breath. Hold it a second. And breathe out. Put your full concentration on your breath. Breathe in. Hold it. And breathe out. Breathe in. Hold it. And breathe out. Breathe in deeply this love and this life force. Hold it a second and then feel it filling your body. And breathe out all tension, all tiredness. Let it leave your body, let it disappear. Breathe in again, this life force, this energy of God. It's all around us. Fill your lungs, fill your body, feel it filling your whole body from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. Filled with this wonderful energy of God, prana. Then breathe out, let all tiredness leave the body. Breathe in this life, wonderful, wonderful life of God. It's always available to us. Fill your body with this life. Feel alive. Lit up with God's light. Then let this shining light fill you and then breathe out and let any tiredness leave your body. Just let it go. You won't hold on to anything. Breathe it again, this light of God. Feel it filling your body, your mind is just filled with this life, energy. Don't hold on to anything. If you feel a thought coming in, just look at it and then let it go, leave you on the outgoing breath. It has no reality. Just put it in the light and let it go. Breathe in again. Fill yourself with light. Breathe out. Just let go of everything. Feel yourself shining with life. Breathe out all darkness. Let there not be any, even a tiny bit anywhere in your body. Just feel your body. Let it be filled with light. Every atom. Check your feet, your legs, torso, all the organs of your body. Let them be just filled with light. And as you breathe out, let all darkness leave, all dis-ease. Breathe in. Feel at ease. Whatever's happening in our life, it's a gift of God, either to make us stronger or to give us grace. And breathe out. And then just do this on your own for a few minutes. Just breathing in, feeling the wonderful life of God within you, and then breathe out all darkness. If any thoughts come in, just see them in the light. Just let them be in God's hands and then just let them go with the outgoing breath. Now, concentrate on your heart center in the center of the chest. See it as a lotus, beautiful flower filled with love. Visualize it very strongly. Opening more and more in God's love, letting light shine out of it. Light of love fills us from within. This is an inner the inner view, the inner sight that Swami talked about, the reality within us. Let's become aware of our inner reality. Heart in the center of our chest is filled with love. Think of all those you love. And send them this love. Our family. Our friends, see them just filled with love. Feel your heart opening more and more in this love. And visualize Swami sitting on a throne in your heart, on this beautiful lotus that's fully opened. God dwells within us. He is our inner reality. He is our inner self. There's no difference. Sai Baba dwells within us, always feeling his love whenever we open ourselves up to it. If we have any worries, we can just tell Swami these worries while we're sitting in our heart with him. He always says, I know, I know. He knows our sufferings. He knows our joys. He brings us to oneness step by step through our life. Closer and closer till oneness happens. It's our birthright. Someday, quickly, if we work at it, this oneness, you'll know it all the time. Not just in meditation, but always. There'll be nothing outside. See his face so smiling in love with his eyes just glowing. He loves us more than 1,000 mothers. He's always there. He's there to tell us if we need to make a decision, what the right decision is, what's dharmic. He's just sitting in our heart, loving us. His love is just shining. His smile. His beautiful hair that's like light. It's a wonderful halo of light around him. That light extends out as far as the universe. Has no end. Go inside in this inner view, this inner sight. Get in touch with what's inside of you. Go inside with Swami. few minutes. Let that be the only world. He and I are one.
Feel your heart, feel it expand from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. Watch the sunrise to rise from the forehead to the top of the head. And once there, the whole temple of the body automatically fills with love, with light, with God. Every cell, every atom, perfect, as God made it in its original state. Just rest there for a while. Once you get there, fill up at your own pace. This temple of the body that God granted us these times. We meditate not for ourselves and our own personal liberation, but we meditate to be perfect instruments, divine instruments for Swami, for God to work through and help others in these difficult times on our planet. Use us, Swami. Love through us, live through us, breathe through us, walk through us, talk through us, think through us, feel through us, Swami. Heal through us. Swami, love all, serve all through us. We dedicate our lives to that. And that's why we meditate. All the rest is icing on the cake. Watch sunrise at the forehead to high noon at the top of the head. It comes naturally because it's the natural nature of things that we've watched for millions of years in human bodies and other bodies. Let go, let go, let go of this world, let go of the desires, let go of the fear, let go of the attachments, let them go. You can take them back later, but for now, just let them go. Keep letting go into the light of love within you, God within you. God, it's all God, really. Swami, form and formless, we adore thee. So let the mind dwell on Om, the name of God in the Absolute. Turn to it when the mind wanders away, gently, easily, effortlessly. Come back to it without criticism or judgment for wandering. It's just its nature. Stay firm with that. Let there be light and love. Love more deeply, Swami, love God. Form and formless, we adore thee. Let any form, any God, goddess, any name or form of God, and everybody is actually God. So love God in everybody, and you'll be free very soon. He says, all names are mine, all forms are mine. He didn't say except humans. All names are mine, all forms are mine, including you and me and everyone. All names are mine, all forms are mine. Realize that. Be that. Ask for his help if it's difficult. Swami, you meditate within me. You, God, you are within me. You do everything. You meditate within me, God. I'm just sitting here. You do the meditation. Please. Let it go. Let the world go. It's not really real. Dream, daydream, night dream, both are dreams. Let it go. I am that I am. So for those that want to open those gates of heaven at the top of the head and let this light of love flow, let the light expand. No longer can it be contained within the human form. It has to expand and light up the world. Light up all the beings that you think of. Friends, family, strangers, acquaintances, even so-called enemies, our best friends. Teach us how to love unconditionally. Om, I am that I am. Expand like the sun. Sun shines through the transparent boundaries of the body. This temple is lit with love, shining forth into all beings in the whole world. Om. Om. I am. No labels needed. Just I am. Om. I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not the thoughts and feelings that I can observe. I am not the experiences or the personality. I am not the ego self. I am God within, living life on earth in a human form, temporarily. God is everything, everyone, everywhere. Expand. When the mind wanders and you notice, bring it back to Om and the light of love, the feeling of love, the feeling of peace. Ask God to do it within you. Om. Even the sky turns to love and light. Clouds in the sky turn to love and light. The heavens beyond the sky, the stars and the space between them turns to love and light. It's all God, it's all God, it's all God, it's all Swami. Formless Swami that we love and adore. It's all God. Body of God. Om. We are cells in the body of God. Om. Let everything else go. We call upon the Sai Baba within each and every one of us to manifest themselves right now. Reveal yourself, Swami. Reveal yourself within us. Reveal yourself within me. Swami, show yourself. Swami, rend the curtain of Maya and reveal who I really am. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Really? Consciousness in human form. Om. Reveal yourself, please, Baba. We were never born and we will never die. The eternal self of love is God. God is love. Love is God. Beyond these forms, source of Om, I am that I am. Hum Brahmasmi. If you found the truth within yourself, lock on to it like a laser. Don't let the mind shift. Just lock on to that truth. The silence reveals our divinity. Oh, when the mind reappears, let it dwell on Om. Feel the love, feel the light, feel the peace. That's all God. letting go into that. Dig deeper with the shovel of love to the inner self. Om. Like the sun, shining everywhere, giving life to everything. God is with us. God is us. Swami says, say these things to your mind every day. I am God. I am not different from God. I am the indivisible, supreme, absolute. Sat Chit Ananda, truth, awareness, bliss. Source of consciousness is awareness. Sat Chit Ananda, truth, awareness, bliss. Grief and anxiety can never affect me. I am ever content. Fear cannot enter me. I am God. I am no different from God. Believe it. It's true. Om. Call upon the glory of God's grace. Om. Saishvaraya Vidmahe. Satya Devaya Dhimahi. Tannah Sarva Prachodayat. Om. Saishvaraya Vidmahe. Satya Devaya Dhimahi. Tannah Sarva Prachodayat. Om. Saishvaraya Vidmahe. Satya Devaya Dhimahi. Tannah Sarva Prachodayat. Om. The one true Guru is God. Only God. Let your light shine upon all the world, all the universe, all beings. Don't hide it under a bushel. Shine with humility. Shine with God's love. Shine with life, love. The sun of all beings. Om. Keep letting go into that. Oh, we were never born and we will never die. Only the body does, but not the true you, one with the absolute, one with God eternal. If you feel like you can't get to that place, just love Swami, love your God, love your goddess. All names are mine, all forms. And that I am. Om Tat Sat Om. Share this love with all beings. Before we do, let's have an attitude of gratitude. This is a song I like to sing sometimes. It is you who turned my night today. It is you who took my fear away. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It is you who taught me how to love. It's you who taught me how to love. Thank you, Thank you, Swami. Thank you. Thank you. Turned our lives to gold. Thank you, Swami. Thank you, God. So breathe now this love back into the temple of the body. Be aware first where you are in your consciousness and how you feel right now, especially compared to how you felt before meditating today, before joining together. And don't leave it out there somewhere. Make it a part of yourself. Bring it into your heart center. May it become our life, a life of love. We walk love, we talk in love, we think in love, we live in love. We let Swami, we let God love through us and serve all. Bring it back into these temples and let them be lit with the freedom that love brings. And the freedom that love shares with all beings. That's our real purpose here on earth. So coming back in at your own pace, your own time, as we own peace in this world for all beings, especially in Russia and especially in Ukraine. May all the beings be happy, healthy, peaceful, loving, kind, and never hurt. Help each other, don't hurt each other. Let's own for that in this world as well. May all beings be happy. Oh. A wave of the ocean, this ocean of love within us spreads throughout the world and touches all hearts and souls. Oh. May God's grace be with everyone and light the lamp of love in their heart, everyone's hearts, throughout the world, a world of peace. May the kingdom of God come on earth. Oh. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you, God. Thank you, Swami, for incarnating and for bringing us to you. Thank you for your love, sacrifice. Thank you for your life's message. May it be our message of life. 2. So take a good 3 minutes before opening the eyes, unless you've already come down in, breathing back into the body. Take your time. You're way out there, most of you. Just take your time, all of you actually. Just take your time, coming back, contracting into the temple of the body, the physical form. Take your time breathing back in. We are grounded in this earth like trees in the forest, sequoias, redwoods, oaks, and maples, any tree you like. The roots of our tree go deep into the Mother Earth, touching the core of the Mother Earth and receiving its sustenance, its physical bodies on Earth, grounding us, leaves in the heavens, sunlight of God's love shining upon them. They are here to do God's work. May it be so. Jai Sai Ram.
Brother, that was a beautiful journey for all of us.
Right. Swami's grace with us. Any questions? Anybody want to share any experience or anything? Just unmute, feel free.
Well, I had an experience of my body rocking. So I don't know what that was, but it was a gentle rocking back and forth.
That's the Kundalini coming through, up the spine. That's how it does it. It winds up the spine like this. And when it's really strong, it can make the body rock with it. In a way. That's a freeing of the interior nadis, or in acupuncture, they call them the meridians, the neurological, spiritual channels.
And I felt very peaceful. I mean, it was really, really peaceful. I just love this.
Thank you for joining us. Together we can create a new world for Swami, with Swami. We're like the devotees, the gopis and the devotees holding up the mountain for Krishna. Well, no, Krishna held up the mountain himself. But we're just, okay, let us help Swami, please. Swami would do it without us, but he gives us the grace to be able to help him do it, which is wonderful. Anybody else like to share anything, say anything, or any question?
Yeah, I wondered why you lean your heads backwards.
Do our heads go backwards?
Well, it looks like that on the screen.
I think it's the angle, but
yeah, we haven't been very diligent.
Yeah,
about
if I lifted the screen up here, it wouldn't look like our heads were leaning backwards. But that's about 1 foot higher, and I got to bring in the luggage to do it.
We'll have to do something.
But sometimes our heads do go backwards because the Kundalini going up the spine forces the head backward a little bit. It's really good to have it straight forward.
Yeah.
So that because to get to the top of the head, it takes a certain amount of correctness of the spine. Yeah.
Do you meditate on the chakras of the Kundalini, or it just happens naturally?
All chakras are one when the heart is one. So yeah, it happens kind of naturally. I used to think, okay, my first chakra is being purified by God's grace. Second chakra, don't ignore any of the chakras. If you're going to meditate on the chakras, my second chakra is getting purified by God's grace. They're in the subconscious mind. And the third chakra is getting purified. You could do it that way. But now it's just, Swami, take over, do it.
There's a question, brother. When can we move on from guided meditation to unguided meditation?
Unguided meditations happen between the monthly meditations, but it's always good to have satsang. The yogis in the Himalayas, they meditate together. Did you know that? They have gathering satsang. They meditate together. And they sit there generally silently, but somebody might say, Om, and then they all go off into Om. They do it. This is what happens. We're in the world, we're in the towns and the cities and the villages. Swami said, for householders to become liberated, if it can be said so, are much stronger in their liberation than the yogis in the Himalayas who find liberation. apart from the world. He did say it. He said, if it can be said so, because when you're liberated, you just won anyway. But he said it takes much more strength in the villages and towns being a householder. And for those householders that find liberation, that took much more than for the yogis who sat in the caves. Satsang is very important. All right. Until next month, what Prasanna, Sai Prasanna, what day of the month next month? Tell us the Wednesday.
It's the third Wednesday.
The
Third Wednesday. So
Third
tell everyone.
Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Yeah.
There's at 8 o'clock. Oh, 7 o'clock your time.
Yeah, 7 o'clock Chicago time, 8 o'clock Eastern time.
Yes, 8 o'clock.
5 o'clock Pacific time. I'm sorry, I'm so selfish. I mean,
No.
my time.
I am definitely more selfish than you. Oh, I think, do I have to get here in time? All right. Have a great. Yes, yes.
I have a question. Different people refer to Baba as different things. I always refer to him as Baba. And people say Swami. Me, Swami seems like being at a distance, that he's a teacher, he's your guru, and he's teaching you something. But when I say Baba, it's a personal relationship between me and my father. That's how I see it.
Beautiful. I used to call Baba.
I see everybody else say Swami. I said, why Swami?
No, Baba.
Yeah.
That's what I used to say, Baba, please. I had a hard time saying Swami, actually. Baba, please, 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 marry us. Please, please, Baba.
But if you spend a lot of time in Prashanti Delay with him, it was, everyone called him Swami or Bhagavan.
Yeah.
I have to tell a funny story. Since I was a little tiny boy, I called my grandfather Baba.
Ah,
And I was the firstborn grandchild.
How beautiful.
So that was his name.
Beautiful.
I guess I was looking.
yes, wonderful.
It really should be your name. We should call Swami by our name. Then Swami would say,
Actually, but Swami says when he would correct people that you should say, I am I.
I am I. How does it? Well, there's ways of saying that. Anyway, have a great, wonderful month. Have a lot of side dreams to all of you tonight.
Yes, I will.
And ask Swami to teach you in your sleep. He will. If you don't, he doesn't necessarily appear in your dreams, but he'll teach you in your dreams. If you say, Swami, teach me in my dreams tonight, please. Baba, please teach me in my dreams tonight. Come to me in my dreams tonight. He will. You might not see him, you might not remember him, but he will come. And then eventually you'll see him when he wants. And Swami said, you cannot conjure me up in your dreams. When I come into your dreams, it's really me.
And it's usually in the morning time, and you remember it very clearly and don't forget it.
That's
right. Like other
I wish I could forget the times he yelled at me. But all right. Have a great one.
Have a wonderful time.
Thank you, everyone.
Good. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jai Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
You want to close with a prayer?
Sure, yeah. Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sai Ram, thank you. Thank you so much.
Sai Ram. Thank you.
Sai Ram.
Thank you all.